Yeah, so we help people with everything. That's always been like our main thing, my main thing. And now that we have chapters, we have 10 chapters in the city, 9 are functional and 1 is coming up. So the 10 chapters in the city have their own coordinators. We have, I might miss one or two, but like I'll just try. We have animal welfare coordinators, we have civic coordinators, we have news coordinators, information coordinators, activities coordinators, we have volunteering coordinators, mental health coordinators, we have medical coordinators. I think I missed one. But basically, we have a whole bunch of coordinators in every chapter. Some coordinator roles, we even have more than 4 or 5 people, which we have turned into teams. So I'll just share like a little bit. For example, our news coordinators, when they first started, like as 1 or 2 people, their objective was to just report whatever news of the area is happening and share it with the members of the chapter. Like, for example, we have an Indiranagar chapter, which is Indiranagar and surrounding areas. So news coordinator would share whatever is happening in the area. Now that it's a team of 4 people, they have an additional objective, which is to find one unreported news of the area and get it published in the media. Okay, at least one per month is what they do. So like this, we have all the roles which have evolved to some extent. How I manage is obviously due to the support of all the people like yourselves who have joined the army, who are managing various aspects of it, because it's not possible for one person to get everything done. At the same time, in various cities, I actually go to those cities. I spend like a couple of weeks there when we start a new chapter to establish contacts, to meet all the government officials, to understand how that particular city works. For example, we visited Hyderabad, a few months ago before the elections. And Hyderabad is a very different city from Bangalore in many ways because the problems in Hyderabad were different. Even though the city's municipal corporation is really well run, it was kind of dictatorial because everything went back to one person. Okay, so that sort of an issue existed. So you couldn't get anything done unless Big Boss wanted it, and Big Boss is fortunately now out of the government. So that was the thing, that happened in Hyderabad. Chennai obviously has a different set of problems. So we are in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai now. So Chennai has different sets of problems, very political compared to Bangalore. Everything has politics. Even the cops are like politically divided, like how they talk to you, how they approach you. So we have very different kinds of problems there. So I like to go there, spend some time there, or if I can't go, then our core team members go there, spend some time there, make a report of what's actually there in the city which needs to be addressed. And that's how we take it, step by step. But we don't go in half-hearted. We go in to make sure that we can help people with any kind of problem in the city. And until we are in a position to be able to promise them that, we don't, start that chapter. So we have some other chapters also currently in progress, and as time goes, we'll announce. So the causes. So obviously, there's an activism element to things as well, right? The current causes that we are fighting for. Some of you might be familiar with the right to protest not being a thing in Bangalore. All the protests in Bangalore are confined to one isolated spot called Freedom Park, and I'm a part as Saint Broseph and a representative of the Saint Broseph Army in that combined fight for the right to protest in Bangalore, along with many other organizations. So that's something we're doing. That's number one. We are currently also fighting for outlawing harassment of students in educational institutions by educational authorities. So we have ragging, right? Ragging is a crime. All of us know it. That also was achieved after a long fight. But unfortunately, when the same type of ragging is done by the professors and other authorities of the colleges, then there is no actual criminal, liability for that kind of a thing. So we want to get that included into the Karnataka Education Act. And we will make Karnataka the first state in India to actually outlaw this type of harassment. And then we will hopefully be able to expand it into other states and all over the country. That's the second cause. And the third and final cause, I can't take up too many causes also because, we have individual people's problems to also work with. So the third and important cause that we're currently going for is to make sure that this draconian notification, which suspends all labor laws for the IT sector in Karnataka, is repealed. And then additionally, once that is repealed, if they don't repeal it, if they renew it again, the Labour Minister has assured us that he'll repeal it. I mean, he'll not repeal, he'll basically not renew it. But let's say he still somehow renews it, then we are going to start an agitation like this state has never seen before. I don't care who comes with me, I'll fight till the last drop of my blood, literally. Not even metaphorically, literally till I die, I'll fight for that particular notification to be repealed. So that's one thing. And subsequently, once if things do go our way, then we will make sure that we work on an IT Workers Act, exactly like the act that I mentioned, but with IT in mind. And we will be making that happen, and we'll be putting it through all of you. At some point it'll come to everyone, so they can look into it, give some suggestions, and with everybody's opinions and suggestions and everything, we'll create a draft which will be created by all the members of the IT industry in some way or the other, and we'll give it to our ministers to actually do something about it. And hopefully, this is a life dream of mine. I think once I achieve this, my life's purpose will be fulfilled completely. That if this act actually comes into action in the entire country, then I'll consider that, I've lived a fairly successful life. That's the cause. Thank you. So see guys, what's wrong is wrong. Okay? What is wrong? Cutting off even one tree without a reasonable cause for that permission to be given. So let's look at it that way, right? The permission was given. But was there a reasonable cause for the permission to be given? That is the angle that has to be taken in that kind of a situation, right? Similarly, when there's a hawker's license given for a certain area, most of them don't even have licenses. They just give money to the traffic police, and the traffic cop just allows them to park there. Now, what can we, let's say 5 citizens of the area, do about this? So this is an effort that we're undertaking with all the chapters that we have in the St. Broseph Army as well, because we want to make sure, like I said, we have legal coordinators and we have civic coordinators. So legal coordinators in our chapters are typically lawyers. Okay, they know the law. They know how to get um, the appropriate PILs filed. If it's a public interest litigation, if it concerns a large number of people as to the action that the government is taking, if it's something that affects a lot of people, we can actually file a public interest litigation. We can even get an injunction. So you guys, it can be interpreted as like a stay order or a restraining order, or any sort of order where the government says that this cannot be done. That's called a stay from the court, like an injunction, right? So we can get an injunction on that particular thing happening. So as soon as it happens, somebody can go to the court and file that in the court that day itself and say, you need to stop this. This is not been given, the permission has not been proper. The court needs to give an injunction to stop this particular activity from happening, and the appropriate official has to appear in court and answer as to why this was actually allowed, right? And even post the fact. So I mentioned something about how criminals, if we don't take action against criminals, they just get more brazen in the future and commit more crimes. Similarly, if something has already happened, that does not mean our fight has stopped, right? It hasn't ended. If 5 trees were cut to make place for a flagpole, that does not mean that not just because the trees are cut and the matter is done. We cannot spare these people. We cannot let them go like that. We are going to hold them accountable. So what we do typically when we see something like this, which is concerning the BBMP or the civic authorities of Bangalore, which are apart from BBMP also, we make sure that we write registered posts to their officials, to the zonal commissioner. We write it to the actual commissioner, Tusharnath Giri, who I will reserve my opinion about. Apart from that, we can write it, to the different authorities, ministers. Now our deputy chief minister is also supposed to be like a Bangalore minister. So writing to him, writing to all these different offices by registered post. So it's very important, guys. Also, if the cops don't ever take your FIR, you can always send it by registered post and they'll be bound to take it. Okay, that's like a thing that, again, the people who made our laws have empowered us with this kind of a right, okay, to be able to get our FIR registered even if they're not listening to us. So to raise the issue like that in a proper manner. Then if the PIL is to be filed, then the PIL is to be filed. How did they cut these trees? Then the court will issue a show cause notice to that particular officer. Tell us why you did this. And if that officer has done something wrong or taken money or under pressure, whatever, we have to, the 4 people who are there, and you can count me as the 5th one, we will all together make sure that that particular officer gets fired. Okay? When there is a lot of garbage in the area, there is a BBMP Sahaya app, which is whatever. So we can still try to escalate the issue through that. If it doesn't get escalated, at least we can show the screenshot of that particular issue that we raised in the BBMP app and write another registered post to the zonal commissioner saying, this I registered 1 month ago, still the garbage is there, what is this person doing? And please also inform me about what has been done to that officer as a disciplinary action. This you can write. And if that zonal commissioner also doesn't work, then again we go to the court and we get that person challenged. Now, obviously, this is quite a lot of work. It requires quite a bit of effort, and that is what I'm trying to do, because now the time has come, I realize, to start a formal organization. So we want to make sure that we have lawyers at the St. Broseph HQ. We have lawyers in every part of the city who are on our payroll, who will help you guys with these kinds of situations, because nothing like this exists. There's no profit motive behind it. So nobody has actually come forward to do this. But I want to make sure that, we together make this feasible, we together make this viable, we together empower citizens in this manner. Imagine having 20 lawyers at the St. Broseph HQ, who will all be ready to file this PIL on your behalf, who will all be ready to get that stay order on your behalf, who will all be ready to go to court on your behalf, as long as you guys do the signatures and actually go if required. And we'll make this city better, man. All the laws exist, all the provisions exist. I didn't bring the Karnataka Municipal Act because it's too big of a book. I didn't bring the Karnataka Education Act because it's this thick of a book. I mean, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be able to carry it in my bag. But we have those laws, we have those provisions. We can actually take all these officers to task if only we are sufficiently empowered legally. And our government obviously doesn't care about doing it for us, so we'll do it ourselves. So even though this problem, there are solutions to it. They are not immediately viable, but with these efforts, I will make it viable, and we will all together make them viable. I think a lot of people in Bangalore flout traffic rules because the roads anyway are trash, in most parts of the city. So you waste so much time navigating around those roads. The traffic management in the city leaves so much to be desired. Heavy vehicles are plying on interior roads all day, that kind of stuff. So there's so much that the citizens go through, when they're just going about their daily commute. It's not even some task like climbing a mountain, man. It's like just going from point A to point B. People go through so many hurdles in just being able to do it normally that when they see an opportunity to save a few minutes, they just take it. They're like, I'm not going to get this opportunity. I'll get stuck again. Might as well save a few minutes in the process. So, the psychology of why a very normal, average law, conventionally considered a law-abiding citizen, breaks and flouts these rules and norms and laws is, because of these factors. If everything was pristine and perfect, I don't think our people would be breaking laws as often as they do. But to get to your point, all the volunteers in the St. Broseph Army in all the different chapters are open to all kinds of volunteering that helps the city. This, if you feel passionate about it, this is your organization, okay? The HQ, the office that we have in Indiranagar, she has been there. That's our office. All of us, you guys can drop by anytime, be there. So we built this very nice sort of comfortable community space for everybody that wants to be a part of it. And similarly, the entire organization is created in this way where I want it to be absolutely decentralized. Today I'm here not as St. Broseph, but as a representation of what St. Broseph is supposed to be. If there's a cause that any of you have in your heart and you don't know how to go about it, but you feel strongly about it, come and we'll figure it out. It's an open platform. It's literally an open platform. We'll work on it. Yeah. Yeah, so obviously that's like the first thing that a lot of us think about, that if I take on a very powerful person, then what about the possibilities of the consequences that something will happen to me? And I'm not going to lie, they have tried. Okay. They have come to me with like their own death threats and things like that. One thing that really was good, that worked for me, was that I was already involved in a lot of different organizations, and through many years of doing social work and volunteering work, I had built up a lot of good contacts in the city system, in all the different circles that you can imagine. So because of that, I was sufficiently empowered enough, or I rather empowered myself enough to the point that, I didn't have to fear anybody. And apart from that, once the St. Broseph name itself grew huge, now I don't even require like to fall back on my contacts for these kinds of things. What I want to tell you with this answer is that this is how I did it. But over the course of time, I've learned that you actually don't need all this. Like I started this talk with, knowledge is power, right? As long as you know what your rights are, and as long as you're in a position and you have the comprehension and the understanding to figure out what your rights are, and you can talk clearly in any sort of a situation, nobody can actually put you down. If somebody gives you a death threat and you file a case against them for that particular thing, they will regret it for the rest of their life, provided you take it forward clearly. So there's so many of those things, right? I did it because I had contacts, and then I figured it out as I went along. But today, I know that any of you can be just as empowered only by knowing the right things. And obviously, when something gets really hairy, because in our country not everything is ideal or perfect, there are some people, but I will say those people will be like the real powerful people, like your MLA or MP, or that sort of very senior government official type of person, who is actually not bound by any act or laws, to stop them, apart from what's anyway there for citizens. So such people sometimes, because they're so brazen and so, they've done it a lot of, so they don't care about the consequences, or they think they don't care because they don't think consequences can happen to them. There have been politicians in this country that cannot fight elections again because one person like us went and registered a police complaint, which ended up in an FIR, which ended up in a conviction. Okay, so this very same politicians who used to think that they are everything, they own the world, now they can't do anything. So there are ways. And in this city like Bangalore, all of us are educated, man. Literally everyone's educated. Everyone is sufficiently empowered with the resources, the connectivity to the internet, and so many resources. And like I said, now you have the same Broseph army as well. So we're all together. If something like this ever happens to you, we're all there for each other. We should all be there for each other as the civil society, or the community of Bangalore. We should all be there for each other, and it should not stop us whether anyone is from any kind of caste, any religion. I even in St. Broseph Army, we don't even do politics. Like, it doesn't matter, man, what party you support or what ideology you support. It's fine. Just if you're in trouble, we'll help you. If you're in trouble and you're not wrong, we'll help you. So it doesn't matter. And I think that's how the nature of the civil society should be. We should all be there for each other. Should not, polarize ourselves even further than what the politicians and these people have already done to us. It's better that we look out for each other, because at the end of the day, a BJP voter or a CPIM voter or a Congress voter, at the end of the day, they're all just citizens, man. And the other people who you go to fight for and battle for, and the ideologies you go to battle for, those people, just like anyway, they're up there and they're friends, man. They're all with each other, in some way or the other. They all cooperate and hang out with each other. It's us who fight each other and unnecessarily polarize ourselves and, split our friend circles and our small communities. Anyway, our communities are so small now, and we divide ourselves even further. As long as we're together, nobody can mess with us. That's the conclusion of that. So I don't take time off at all. I don't think it's healthy. But I feel like at this stage of the thing we're trying to do right now, I have to put that sort of time and energy into this initiative in order to be able to build it to a point where I can then maybe start to take a couple of hours off every day and like watch a movie or something. So right now, I think it's that time where I'm really trying to work very hard to build the organization, to educate the volunteers and coordinators about what needs to be done, about putting together the SOPs and like the presentations and the knowledge banks and the website, the app, everything in place. So I think right now I'm not doing that, what you just said. But I think in the future, once everything is put in place and it's a more uh, well planned and like well run organization, which sort of is a machine that runs itself. And also by that point, I think I'd have empowered through my efforts and through everyone's collective efforts sufficient other Saint Brosephs, so that it's not always about one guy. But yeah, what I do right now is I obviously get a lot of satisfaction from what I do. One thing I follow every day in my life is that when I go to sleep, I truly forget everything I achieved during the day. That's just something that I have brought into like my, what do you say, my nature. And then when I wake up the next day, it's a clean slate. I have done nothing in my life, and I have to make this day count for something. So that's my personal, like how I do it. But it might not be for everybody. That's just how I do it. And because I have not achieved anything in my life, today I have to make a lot out of this particular day. And by the time I go to sleep, there's a little bit of satisfaction that I tried to make a difference today. And then it's shift and delete. That's it. I guess it's a way to recharge, because I just don't take anything from one day to the next day. I think that's that. And it's not simple, man. I'm telling you, truly, it's not simple, or it's not something that's for everybody. So I'm not trying to virtue signal here or something. I'm just saying this is what I do. Because you asked me, this is what I do. And this is somehow it works for me. If it works for me, it doesn't have to work for everyone, but this is what works for me. Yeah. Okay. There are many. But I'll use this platform to also bring a little bit of attention to a particular case. You guys might have heard about Aditya Prabhu. He was a student of PES University in Bangalore. He ended his life because of harassment from the educational institution that he was at, which is PES University. So he was caught cheating. Basically, he carried his phone. It's unclear whether he may or may not have used it during the exam, but they caught him and they took him and they humiliated and berated him to the point where the boy, just within an hour of being left from there, he took that step. It's not complicated. It's a very simple case. It's Article 3, it's Section 306, abetment to suicide. And the people who actually encouraged him to do it or created the circumstances for him to do it, they should just ideally go to jail, or at least they should be suspended from the institution. But why it has been challenging for me personally is because right after his funeral, from that day, he was 19. He's the only son of his family. And there was nobody else, in their family who they knew would like sort of, take care of them in the future. It's a small family. So to be with the parents, meeting them almost every single day at that time, and now sporadically, like we meet up because I don't want to like don't want their lives to be all about this also. I want to give them their space as well. But meeting them all the time, discovering layer by layer how deep their pain goes, discovering layer by layer how much this loss affected them, what their boy meant to them. He was a very sweet boy, man, from what I learned, much like all of you. And that was heavy, that was really heavy. And that is still very heavy. And to deal with the parents' emotions on one side of it, and on the other side of it, to deal with that college, that wretched educational institution, and the way they have chosen to handle this case, the three people who they say were the ones that actually harassed him, not even been suspended to this day. They still go to that college and teach students every single day. They still deal with students. The same people who, in the police charge sheet, the witnesses have said that they actually told him to kill himself. Okay? And still, those same very people are still teaching students at PES University. And why has this happened? Even the charge sheet is like a manufactured one. We know that one of the police officials was in on it, and we know that this particular person actually created the case in such a way that they'll all be exonerated. I mean, the charge has been applied. That's what we finally fought and got, because they weren't even filing the charge sheet initially. We had to really fight. The DCP of South Bangalore actually lied to me, saying that the charge sheet was filed on Twitter. And then I called him out on it, and finally, quietly, they filed the charge sheet 2 hours later. Okay? So this fight has been all uphill, literally all uphill, and we've been fighting. Um, while I don't think there will be a conviction in that case, we still want the case to come to trial. So at least we can have a shot. At least we can use this case to then build the kind of law that I was mentioning earlier about harassment of students by educational authorities being actually outlawed in this country. The university is run by extremely powerful people. One of the former chief ministers of this state, his sons are the trustees of that university, and therefore they come from a very politically sort of strong background, and it's well connected. And we have met many politicians for it, and then we see social media posts from the same politicians hanging out at that college later. The politicians who promised us justice, they are going and hanging out with the same people. So it's quite deplorable. But at the same time, I'm not going to let this go, no matter what it takes. Justice can be gotten by courts, that's obviously the one thing, but there are many other ways to ensure that there's public awareness. There's many other ways to ensure that the benefits and the status in the society and in, let's say, placements and all those things that this college enjoys slowly gets, removed, or slowly gets like chipped away, layer by layer. We'll keep this fight up for as long as we can, because they have made their intent clear that they don't want to help the student's family. They don't want to even acknowledge the fact that something wrong happened. So we're going to do what it takes from our side. So it has been challenging. Like I said, the emotional side more than the actual legal side, but that was the case. Yeah. So we all have representatives, no matter where we live in the city, except for corporators. At that BBMP level, we don't have people right now. But apart from that, at the Vidhan Sabha level and at the Lok Sabha level, we have our representatives. So if we need something to be changed, I think I'll give you the exact DIY. Okay, first you need to formulate it clearly and mention a need for it. Why is there a need for it? Illustrate with examples. Then look into laws that are already there. If it's a state related thing, then look into laws that are in other states. That's the most relevant. If it's a country related thing, like something that's supposed to be applicable for the whole nation, look into laws in other countries to make a case for why this law also needs to exist. And preferably countries that are more developed than India. Okay, so if we take references from the laws that are in other countries that people have been benefited by, and we see, look at the struggle that those people had to go through to actually make it happen, which may or may not be much depending on the country and circumstances. So once we have all that context and we put it together in a proper manner, and then we find other people who might also be interested in, getting this thing introduced. You put together action committee or something like that, like 10 people who will actually be representatives of it, and like at least 100 people who are backing it, who want this to actually be a law. And then you visit your representative with all that research and information and say, boss, this is what I need to be done. That's the right way of doing it. Okay, but obviously these guys will take your proposal, they might even sign an acknowledgement for you, and they'll just put it in one drawer that will not be opened again. So for that we have PILs. So you go to the court with a lawyer and you present why this thing is important, why this needs to be changed. Then the court actually is way better than politicians, because politicians don't have any sort of a it's not like a mandate or like a requirement for them to take every citizen's suggestions and do something about them, or at least give them an answer. But for the court, every case requires a judgment. Okay, so the court will take it forward. If your cause has enough meat in it, then they'll actually do something about it. They'll issue an order asking the government, or telling the government rather, ordering the government to get it done. So that's the process. Now, how can we expedite this and how can we do this faster? I would say by getting more people involved. The more people that are involved, the more PILs are filed, the more this goes in the media, the more this issue is kept live, the more so it has to be an issue. I mean, right now we are at a stage in this country where not every single issue can be taken up because there's not enough people who are conscious and aware enough to be able to take things forward. But once we have at least the major issues being represented by all the people, and all of us work together to make those changes happen in our laws, then it will happen. I mean, what do you think? All these laws didn't happen because the politicians wanted it. At some point, people like you and me went and, suggested this, or certain PILs were filed, or certain judgments were passed by the court in order to make these things happen. A good example is the striking down of unnatural offenses in this country. So that was something that could be interpreted in various ways. Section 377 was removed after the LGBTQ community fought for a very long time to get it removed. So it was struck down. Now homosexuality is no longer a crime in this country. And similarly, there have been many other draconian laws that have been revealed over a period of time, and many other great laws that have been added into the IPC because people have fought for them. So similarly, we have to start the fight. It might seem like an uphill task. It might seem like, what will we accomplish with this? But it's important to start. It's important to put it out there, and also put it out there in front of the community. If there are enough takers, everyone will come forward and we'll get it done. If nobody comes forward, you think it's important enough, you fight your fight, tell me, I'll fight it with you, and we'll figure it out. So it's important to take action. That's, what it boils down to. If we take enough action, and if we have enough people also interested in the same kind of action, we'll be able to get a lot of changes done. So Chennai obviously comes with its own challenges, like every other city does. But obviously Chennai, there's an element of danger, unlike Bangalore and Hyderabad, particularly because the politicians there have no qualms in turning violent, and they're, the thugs and people that they employ. But at the same time, I have a lot of faith in the Tamil people. Okay, a lot of faith in the society of Chennai specifically, I can say, because it's one of the most educated cities of India. I feel like the large majority is great, amazing people who want to live a dignified life within the rule of law. Okay, and there are a few people who are oppressors who have same thing I described earlier, who were never checked when they initially started their criminal activities. Because again, the people were very nice and very sweet and very meek. They did not understand law, and they did not want to complicate their lives by taking these people to task. And that is why we have these cancerous growths in the society today, in the Chennai society or Tamil society today, where we have all these elements that are now so powerful that they think they own the world and can do whatever they want. But like I said, the Tamils have had this incredible society that has, the knowledge, the literature, the culture, the way the societies have run, the way those systems run. If you read about in history about how Tamil kings governed and how the people actually responded to that governance and cooperated with it, and how you had these amazing officers everywhere, and Rajendra Chola conquered the Srivijaya kingdom. Like you hear these brilliant stories, and then you come to this time now. Now imagine if Rajendra Chola were to be reincarnated today, he would get so mad at what they made out of the state, or what they made out of the society, the beautiful law abiding society that they used to have back then. So, but I think it's still there. I think most people are good. I think there's a lot of great people in Chennai and a lot of wonderful people in Chennai who are who I think in some sense are waiting for the right kind of alternative, not politically, but in terms of like who do we go to for our problem sort of a situation. Because ultimately the same people go to the same politicians because they have nobody else to go to, and which empowers the same exact people to then be able to exploit that very person who came to them. That's what those guys have done. And because people don't have viable alternatives for where to go for help or where to go for support, they have sort of become members of the same sort of cancerous system. And but I think at the core of it, people's intentions are good. They're good people. They're honest people, hardworking people, law-abiding people. And I think this change won't happen in one day. We'll have to start an alternative. We'll have to grow that alternative, and we'll have to make it a strong enough organization with the people's power, because nothing's bigger than the people. When Periyar came into prominence, what used to happen in Tamil Nadu before was also very powerful people controlling a lot of things. But Periyar, with his vision, convinced people to change it, and they changed it at that time. Now, what that vision was and whether you agree with it or not is secondary, but it is an example of how Tamil people are capable of change. Okay, when people thought that DMK's atrocities had grown too much, they brought Jayalalitha in. Now, what she did is secondary, but the point is that people there are very open to change, very committed to change. You know, they will change their system if they feel strongly connected to it. This is the faith with which we are going into Tamil Nadu, and there is enough historical precedent for it. I don't think there's much, of a thought process that needs to go into at least that trust. Okay, so like I said, we'll start. We'll start by helping people with all their basic issues. We will grow in numbers. We'll have more good people connected with us. I'm sure there are really good, powerful people also. Good government officers, good politicians, who have the right intentions. And I'm sure there are some really nice people in the society who right now they're probably aligned with somebody who's bad. But if something like this comes along, they will come to us. They will say, you know what, let me know if I can help you in some way. Because it happens everywhere we go. Somehow we end up finding these nice people because they get gravitated to the good causes. And we find these people. So, like I said, we probably can't make the change as quickly as we've done in Bangalore, or as quickly as we are now slowly on the way to be able to get it done in Hyderabad, because the problems are difficult. But I think at that level where we have a big community like we have in Bangalore, at that level, the people will change way faster than Bangalore or Hyderabad will. They will change very fast, they'll join very fast, and they will change their own state and the state of their state very quickly. That's the trust and faith that I'm going in with. And just to give you a more practical, like quick answer, I know people in Chennai as well. I know a fair amount of decently well-connected people that I don't think personally I'll have to worry about much, at least initially. But over a period of time, we'll build it and we'll make it happen. Thanks. Absolutely. Together, all of us.